Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Stuck in the Catchfence. My name's Ryan Peters. I appreciate you joining us for the beginning of this new channel. This is the pilot episode. We are so glad that you're here. I have a friend, a Hoosier friend, an adopted Hoosier friend, and Joe Spillman. He's wearing a Bearcat shirt today, but he is my adopted Hoosier friend, Mr. Joe Spillman. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great because I just learned I had a friend. You're like my only one. I'm going to tell my mom. I'm going to tell my wife. I guess my wife's kind of my friend, but I'm happy I have a friend. I didn't know that. You've never called me your friend before.
Well, we're breaking barriers. We got a brand new channel. We might as well
Yeah,
have some brand new friendships.
I'm
What I
happy.
mean, what is Steve going to think, though? I mean, Steve's going to be here joining us on the channel too. What
Well, Steve's
is he
never
not
told me. Steve's never told me he's my friend.
That's true. Steve calls us a lot of things, and
Right.
we'll be getting to Steve here later on the channel. But this is the pilot episode. We are so glad that you're here. This episode is something where we're going to break down what you can expect here from Stuck in the Catch Fence and kind of the future of this channel. Obviously, it's a brand new channel. It's going to be pretty raw to start out. But before we begin every single episode, we need to make a toast to an old friend. So, Joe, please pay your respects, and we'll do that right now. Kentucky Speedway. Halfway between Cincinnati and Louisville sat Kentucky's crown jewel, where drivers would gather and families would carpool. A bluegrass beauty in every sense, where some would argue that action wasn't that intense. Cookie cutter was said to be your shape, the hole in our heart you left, nothing can relate. For my first race and rowdy victory, where Joe first met his lovely wife to be. Even without fans, our memories will last. The countless detours just drive one last time past. You sacrificed yourself so Texas could stay. Every second we miss you, hopefully for a future race day. That's a toast to Kentucky Speedway.
Oh, man.
Grab your apple juice.
Jeez.
I'm going to take one
That was beautiful.
and like some good apple juice to
Yeah.
get this. And we don't want to start sad. We don't want to start sad. But at the end of the day,
Oh, man.
we have to give a toast to the fallen, and that is one Kentucky Speedway. But Joe, let's go ahead and get right into what is this channel about. And the reason why we founded this channel is because the three of us, a displaced Hoosier located in Los Angeles, a born and raised Hoosier in the middle of nowhere, and now an adopted Hoosier in yourself, Joe, all found one thing in common. And that's that we love NASCAR and we love motorsports and we love anything with four wheels that really likes to go fast and sometimes ends up wrecking and does flips. And we had this void in our lives of finding outside of just regular media or people that kind of followed this from afar, what exactly we could get information wise from this great sport and a sport that we all believe is growing. And we wanted to create this channel. This is something we've done on a smaller setting, and we think that we could grow into this. And more importantly, we want you to grow with us. There's different things that we're going to do, whether it's going to be games, live chats, things of that nature in the future, to where we can build a community here on Stuck in the Catch Fence. And we're first going to do that with a weekly show, plan on doing that every single week, and then doing a post-race recap for all regular season and playoff races. But Joe, I'm going to lend it over to you. What exactly got you into this, enjoying NASCAR, and why did you yourself want to start a channel here on YouTube?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we had a show in the past, and we're kind of leaping in a new direction, doing our own show on our own channel. And, really, I mean, NASCAR has been something that I've been involved with my whole life. It was something I used to do with my dad. We Sundays after football, it was, NASCAR season, and that's what we did on our Sundays. So, he was a passionate Dale Earnhardt fan. I became a Dale Earnhardt fan, and then obviously a junior fan after that. And I went to as many races as I could. There's just something about cars turning left that I really like. I know a lot of people want to dumb down the sport, but once you become a true fan of the sport and understand the things that make it possible to win a race and how many things can go wrong and the strategies that have to be played out to compete at the top level of NASCAR, it's really quite amazing. And one thing I like to do on this channel is everybody, if you watch the national media, and the national media does a somewhat good job with portraying the sport, but they don't say a lot of things that every fan is thinking. And one thing that we're able to do here is say exactly what's on our mind, and exactly how we feel about something. And we don't have to hold back, because we don't have anybody telling us we have to hold back. And I think a lot of fans really like to hear that perspective too, because when you watch national media, they're gonna church it up a little bit. We could sit here and say, you know what, this is exactly how I feel, and our listeners at home go, you know what, I feel the same way. So
exactly right.
I think that this gives us a platform to do this. I think we had a successful show in the past, and we have three really good talking points that sometimes have three different perspectives between you, me, and Steve, and I think it's a quality show. So my hope is that we can bring that quality show, or really our fandom, to NASCAR, and kind of push that out to everybody, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
No, I think you hit on a major point, and that is that this is probably, in my mind, I don't think it gets enough credit for being the most passionate sport. I mean, NASCAR fans are die hard, bleed whoever, whatever sponsor they have, they support, and whatever driver they don't like, they don't support that sponsor as well.
Right.
And if you're like me, you might see some fans. I'm a Kyle Busch fan. I have my old school Kyle Busch shirt on right now, unapologetically Rowdy Busch fan. And if you ever wear this to a race, you will have stuff said to you. And if you have thin skin, well, then you shouldn't be wearing Kyle Busch stuff to the racetrack. And that's kind of how we do our show. We have our own opinions. We have, Steve is going to be with us, throughout as well. And Steve has his own opinion on things. Steve is a former collegiate athlete, played with Bob and I, won a national championship. But at the end of the day, he's a Hoosier, and he loves watching, like you put it, Joe Cars turn left.
Right.
And we're going to give you our unfiltered, exactly how we feel responses. And we hope one of two things happen. Either one, you agree with a certain side of something that you hear that is different from maybe somewhere you wouldn't got anywhere else. Or number two, you left with a new thought that you never would have pondered before unless coming to this show. And that's what we want to leave you with, is three guys who are passionate about this sport, who love doing this. I mean, that's number one, is we love to sit down on race days. Joe, obviously you got a lot of bingo stuff behind you, some Bearcat stuff. But when it's out of season like we are right now, there is no greater remedy to the football season than what we're going to have this weekend in NASCAR coming back almost exactly at the perfect time.
Yeah, and you just mentioned everything I have behind me. I'm a football hooligan as well. That's no secret to anybody that watches any of our other shows, or listens to our radio broadcasts that we do here locally. But really, sometimes the start of football season really gets in the way of the end of the NASCAR season, because obviously I have to watch my Cincinnati Bengals, but that turns into the race starts at 3:00. Bengals game will start at 1, so I have to start recording the race, so as soon as the Bengal game gets over, I can watch the race. And I'll tell you what, I think I've been criticized by a lot of people that I know about really about my fandom to sports, and here's how I'll break it down, because I made this point the other day, and I think it's a great point. There are so many people in this world that aren't passionate about anything. They don't have anything to direct their passion to. So they get up, they go to work, they come home, they watch mindless TV. They don't think, they don't have any drive, and they repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And NASCAR and sports in general give you that release from your mundane everyday life, I think. Because at the end of the day, you could love your job, you could hate your job, but it's a repetitive thing every day. There's always something new on the racetrack. There's always something new on the football field. So I give my passion, my extra passion, to coaching and professional sports, whether it be football or NASCAR. And it drives my life. It really gives it reason outside of my everyday job that I do. So, that's kind of, some people sit and they listen to people like us, and they say, how can these guys know all this stuff? How can they be this into NASCAR? Well, it's because it's our passion. And when you have a passion like that, you become knowledgeable in what you're watching. So just just a little thought of, before, like I said, I've heard criticism, just want to caveat what we're doing here as well.
Yeah, no, I think those are great points, Joe. And the future of this channel, like we said, we want to build it with you. We want to be anything that you want us to be. We're going to be ourselves, so that's not going to change. We're not going to change who we are as people, but we are going to tailor this around a community that we want you to join us, and more importantly, grow with us. We think that we got a good product that we're going to be able to put out. Like I said, it's going to be raw at the very beginning, and things are only going to get better as we go along and we learn different types of things. But there's things that we have planned. We do a weekly point system where we decide we choose 5 drivers. I'm going to change that up a little bit this year, Joe. So we're going to have to choose a driver outside of the top 20, at least one. And we will up that point standings from last year, and we will
Probably
up
a good
that
rule change.
Yeah, we'll update that every quarter so that stays consistent. And you're welcome to join us with that. I will start a Yahoo Fantasy, or excuse me, a NASCAR fantasy group to people that want to join that way. We're going to talk about odds for racing at times, whether that's just a quick 30-second video between myself and Joe, because that's something that we're passionate about. I get on other sites and set up lineups with salary caps. That's something that we talk about. And, maybe depending on how many followers we have, 1, 2, or even 3 of us can jump on during a NASCAR race, and you can watch our reactions, and we can join a conversation with you as the race is going on. Because I know one thing in my household, my son will jump in with me at times, but more often than not, unless you're at the track, you're really just enjoying the sport by itself. And, you want to call somebody, you want to talk to them about it. Like, what just happened, man? Did you see that? Did you see that wreck? Did you see, Ross Chastain just ride the wall and get 14 different text messages with none of them that I should be able to repeat without an explicit content warning on this video? I want to share that with people as well. And, we're going to have different ways that you can grow with us, things that you can contribute to, or you don't have to at all. The only thing that we typically ask for you, like any other person that's starting a channel, is for you to like it, subscribe, and, and comment what your thoughts are, positive, negative. It don't matter to us. You like it, dislike it, whatever if you want to subscribe, it's free. You hit the button, and now you can join us every single time that we jump on. So that's kind of our future. That's where we want to put ourselves. That's more about myself. That's more about Joe. And whenever Steve gets on, I promise you'll probably hear us talk less than what you'll ever hear us on the show. I know, Steve. We're just putting it out there. I got a yellow flag. If I have to wave it at times, I have to wave it.
The flag system will be strictly enforced. And one last thing, Ryan, I do want to let everybody know is we're not just going to do NASCAR at times here. You and I both are big fans of dirt track racing and sprint car racing, and the hope is to be able to keep up with that somewhat. There are so many different factions of that, obviously, and so many races going on. It's really hard to keep track of all that. But I'm a passionate fan of that. We got a track not too far from us in Lawrenceburg Speedway, and spend quite a few hours up there during the summer as well. So we're going to try to bring you as much as that as we can as well.
Yeah, actually, speaking of that, Joe, I just got my passes for the World of Outlaws race.
Oh, yeah.
It just mailed to me to renew for this year.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. Formula One, that's something that we are generally all about too. I mean, we watch it until it puts us to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning sometimes, but we do like to watch it. Anything that has 4 wheels and, goes really fast, we have no problem talking about. And, we're going to make sure that whatever conversation you want to talk about too, that's there. But Joe, let's go ahead and talk about this upcoming race, this exhibition race in the middle of a football stadium, just to tie everything all together between NASCAR and football. That is the Busch Light Clash. And that will be taking place. I will try to have that on my board behind me. If you can see that, I will get better lighting as things go on. I know it kind of looks like I'm recording in a dungeon, and kind of am. That's where the wife and kids throw you whenever you want to talk sports. But it will be on Fox. The heat races start at 5 o'clock, and then the main event starts at 8 o'clock. So much different than last year. They're trying to go for the prime time. Joe, I know you're going to have a hard time not watching the Grammys to turn on NASCAR. Yeah. Are you going to be able to find a way to either cross your eyes, or can you watch both? Or are you really going to have to just dive in and commit to the NASCAR race?
I'll probably just dive in and commit to the NASCAR race. I don't know that I'll catch any of the Grammys, but speaking of the Clash, I thought it was really cool last year, and I'll repeat that. I thought it was really cool last year. I so it was neat to see. I would like to see NASCAR with the Bash move that around. The Bash Kentucky Speedway wouldn't be a bad place for the Bash if you're not going to have a race there. I'm just throwing that out there. It may be a thought.
It's a glorified parking lot right now. It's not being
maybe
used.
a thought. So, I'm going to watch it, obviously. At the end of the day, it means absolutely nothing. We know that it's a preseason race. Really, to get the gears turning, we kind of get to see showcase what adjustments have been made to the next gen car, but we really don't get to see that in testing, right? Because they're going around a quarter-mile track, so we're not going to learn much from the race. We didn't learn much last year, other than a couple little overheating problems that the cars were having on short tracks, which kind of held through all season. So you don't really learn much. It's a cool race to watch. I think they go about 65 miles an hour around that quarter-mile track. There's a lot of bumping. It's kind of a gimmick race. That's what I thought it was last year. That's what it's going to be this year. But at the end of the day, we finally get to see cars going in a circle, and I'm not going to turn it down. Beggars can't be choosers.
That's right. And what's funny is Steve is only about 15 miles from where this is.
It's 15 miles, 4-hour drive.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a quicker walk if you want to get there from Steve's house. But no, you're right. I think that's a key point is we didn't know what to expect last year. Now we do know what to expect. There's not a new car. That's number one. The biggest thing last year was I don't care how the Coliseum works out. We get a brand new car. Well, now that's done. So that kind of, wears its way out of it. There's going to be a mid-race concert. So if you like that, that's there.
Neat.
Maybe turn to the Grammys and see a mid-race concert that way.
It's not Rihanna's practice run, is it?
Maybe Joe and I provide a concert and put it in our shorts. I don't know.
I could do that.
We're trying to grow the channel. We probably shouldn't do that. No. But, at the end of the day, you're right, Joe. This race, the only thing it did last year, even though it meant absolutely nothing, was one driver won the very first thing that was competitive. And that same driver won the very last race that was competitive. Joey Logano, won the Busch Light Clash last year. He comes in now as, the second multi-champion in the sport, tying with Kyle Busch. So hopefully, more than anything, I think we're going to have to watch this as an exhibition and go, hey, there goes that guy. Oh, wait, he doesn't drive for them anymore. And where's the M&M's? Oh, that's right. They don't sponsor a car. It's going to be just adjusting for us to see, new drivers in different places, and different things like that. Get to hear them talk a little bit. But at the end of the day, like you said, Joe, it's really going to be hard to mess it up because it's our first action of NASCAR in 3 months.
Yeah. And it is what it is. You just kind of said it, but here very shortly, we got a whole lot of things that we are going to need, to talk about too. And I'm sure everybody that is into the sport as passionate as we are waiting to hear and maybe have some input. Last year there was coming into this year, there was some definite safety issues with the next gen car. I know that NASCAR has done a couple things to try to rectify that, and it's way too much to get into today. Some rule changes that are in response to some things that happened last year. We're going to have to get into that. So our actual first show, outside of this little teaser that we're doing, is probably going to be a filled up show with a whole lot of topics.
No, you're right, and we will be providing that for you next week. We plan on typically doing that around Wednesday or Thursday. We will set a set schedule for that. And then this race, because it's an exhibition race, we will not have a post-race show. But every regular season race, we will have a post-race show, and you can tune into that. It will be uploaded very shortly after the race. If it's a day race, if it happens to be, a night race, you could look for it either very late at night or very early the next morning.
And Steve will be with us next week.
Yes, and you will get to meet Mr. Steve Risley if you have not yet already on other type of things. He has a lot more hardware and some cooler rings that Joe and I, we do not.
Yeah.
So, well, that's going to wrap it up for the pilot episode here. We hope that you enjoy this channel. We can't wait to provide you more content. We hope that you stick around. Obviously, like we said, if you don't mind hitting the like button, press the subscribe, smash it. I think that's what the cool kids say.
Smash the subscribe button.
Yeah, smash the subs, bro. No, I'm not.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I forgot.
We just lost like 5 people. Go ahead.
I forgot one last thing. After you like and subscribe, I'll tell you what that last thing is. Okay, you got me.
Oh,
you're right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was good. Anyway, we're going to play a little
channel.
game with all of our with all of our viewers this year, and I'll remind everybody: the first person to guess who my favorite driver is this year, you'll get a golf clap or something. We'll figure out something for you. I will not.
A golf clap.
Yeah, a golf clap or something. We'll do something. But the first listener to guess my favorite driver this year, we will hold you in very high regard. I plan not to bring out any fan stuff until after my favorite driver's guess, and you and Steve are not allowed to guess it.
Well, that would make sense that we're not allowed to guess it. So, yeah, I guess if you're really devoted into who Joe Spillman's favorite driver is, yeah, there you go. Now you got a reason to tune in next week. But that's going to wrap it up for us here. This is the Stuck in the Catch Fence show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.